Hello everyone, this is Mahantesh Bhapri. Welcome to this video, dear children, friends and students. I am before you with a new topic, with a new chapter, with a new unit, that is a village cricket match. A village cricket match. It's a humorous short story. It's a humorous story. It's a humorous situation written by A.G. MacDonald. Who is the writer? A.G. MacDonald. Here, what is very humorous, what is laughing stock here is that here we will meet two teams. One is the team of England and other is team of Scotland. So they play cricket match as village boys play. In the same way they play cricket match, but they do not follow any kind of rule. Only two rules they follow, and some rules they made on the spot. Some rules they made on the spot, and totally this short story makes you laugh again and again, that you will enjoy a lot. I think that you might have watched a movie called Lagan in Hindi, that in that movie as you will enjoy a lot. In the same way, this village cricket match is an entertaining one, amusing one. It gives you to enjoy amazing laughter, or we can say amazing humorous situation. So we can really enjoy. So such stories are meant for enjoying. So after enjoying, only we can remember. So no doubt it makes confusion little bit, but if we read once or twice, certainly it is quite easy to understand. So there are no such new words or big words so that we cannot understand. Words are easy, but we have to read once or twice at least. So ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ತಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪಾಠವನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಇದನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥವ್ರು A.G. ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಡೊನಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಬ್ಬ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಹಾನ್ ಲೇಖಕ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಕಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಬರಹಗಾರರು ಅಥವಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಕಥೆಗಾರರು ಏನನ್ನು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಡುಗರು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದೇ ತರಹ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಟೀಮ್ಗಳು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಡ್ತವೆ. ಒಂದು ಇಂಗ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಟೀಮ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸ್ಕಾಟ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಟೀಮ್. ಅವರಿಬ್ರು ಫರ್ಡಿನಾಂಡ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಹಳ್ಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಅನ್ನು ಆಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅವರು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾವುದೋ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೆಲವು ಒಂದು ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡು ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆದರೆ ಉಳಿದೆಲ್ಲ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಯಾ ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ತಮ್ಮದೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಬಾಲ್ ಹಾಕದೇನೆ ನೋ ಬಾಲ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಾಕಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಲೆಗ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರ್ತವೆ? ಅಟ್ ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ 3 ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4 ಲೆಗ್ ಬಾಯ್ಸ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೀಪರ್ ನ wounded ಆಗಿ ಅವನು ಹೊರಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಅನ್ಯ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಹಾಸ್ಯಮಯ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶಗಳು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಆರ್ ಯು ರೆಡಿ? ಲಗಾನ್ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಹಿಂದಿ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಂಜಿಸಿತ್ತು, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಈ ಕಥೆ ಕೂಡ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಂಜಿಸಲಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದಟ್, dear viewers, still if you have not subscribed our channel, please subscribe our channel and get connected with the world of new learning in a joyful way, in an easy manner at your home. Right? Please subscribe by pressing red colored subscribe button on your screen. ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ತಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿರದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಂಪು ಬಣ್ಣದ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಬಟನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಚಾನೆಲ್ ನ ಸರಳವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಚಂದಾದಾರರಾಗಬಹುದು. ಇದರ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳು ಕ್ಷಣಾರ್ಧದಲ್ಲಿ ತಮಗೆ ಮುಟ್ತವೆ. ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಬಿಫೋರ್ we make delay, let's go to page number 52 and get more and more information about the author. Are you ready, dear children? Please open your textbook, page number 52. Note on the author, note about the writer. A.G. MacDonald, 1895 to 1941. So he was born in 1895 and he died in 1941. He is chiefly known as the author of the novel England, There England. So he wrote a beautiful novel called England, There England. So there he writes many humorous characters. He writes about many humorous characters in a humorous manner. So dear children, if you find anywhere, please read it. It's a wonderful novel in which he presents a humorous picture of the English characters. So there in that novel he presents beautiful characters. ಆ ಒಂದು ಕಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪಾತ್ರಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. The novel narrates the amusing experiences of a young Scottish novelist who travels about in England. So this novel mainly brings before us, narrates means it tells in the form of story. It tells in the form of story about a young Scottish, a young man who is from Scotland, who travels in and about and in England in order to collect data for a book which he intends to write on Englishmen or about the English. So English ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬರೀತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಹಲವಾರು ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಅವರು ಸಂಗ್ರಹಿಸೋಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಆ ಸ್ಕಾಟಿಷ್ ನಾವೆಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಪ್ರಯಾಣ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನೇನು ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಥೆಯ ವಸ್ತುವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. The passage included in this anthology, so that passage, this passage is in that novel, ಆ ಒಂದು ನಾವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಇದು, gives a hilarious account of the conclusion of a cricket match between a team organized by a London editor and a village cricket team. So ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಟೀಮ್ಗಳು ಆಟವಾಡ್ತವೆ. ಒಂದನೇದು ಲಂಡನ್ ಎಡಿಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಟೀಮ್ played in an English village. So they played in an English village. The same cricket match is presented in this chapter that we are going to study. So are you ready, dear children? Think that two teams are playing. Two teams are playing. One is the team of England. One is the team of England and there is team of Scotland. So you can be asked an important question that what are name two teams. What are the two teams? Which are the two teams that you find in this chapter? So the first one, the team of England. The second one is the team of Scotland. Right? England team, Scotland team. So who were the players in England team? Who were the players in Scotland team? Almost all in these two teams we find local village people, or we can say local business people or shopkeepers we find. So all were localites, right? So in England team, Mr. Shakespeare Pollock, Mr. Southcote, Mr. Hodge, Mr. Livingstone, Major Hawker, Mr. Donald, Mr. Boone and Mr. Ozilway. So these were the main teammates in England team. So in Scotland team, the sexton, postman, the blacksmith, his name was Bill, and the baker Joe, batsman who was batting there at the last. So these are the some characters or players we find in this story. So are you ready, dear children? Think that two teams were playing. So ready? The crisis was now desperate. So the crisis was desperate means two teams were fighting neck to neck. So every team wants to win. Fieldsmen drew nearer and nearer to the batsman. So all the fielders were nearer batsman. Batsman ಹತ್ತಿರವಾಗಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು batsman ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ. Excepting the youth in the blue jumper. So only one person was blue jumper, that is wicket keeper. Just behind the wicket. Livingstone balanced himself on his toes. Livingstone was a fielder and he was balancing. Now England team is fielding and Scotland team is batting. Next, so Livingstone balanced himself on his toes. Mr. Shakespeare Pollock hopped about almost on top of the batsman. So Mr. Shakespeare Pollock wants to make all out of that opposite team. So he was planning. Breathed excitedly and audibly. So he breathed excitedly means he wanted to show his confidence. Even imperturbable Mr. Southcote discarded the piece of grass which he had been chewing so steadily. See, imperturbable means calm, silent. So who was silent here? Mr. Southcott was always silent. So in play or game, a person who remains silent, he can think and he can do so many things there. So he was chewing grass. So maybe his strange habit that he was chewing some kind of grass. So he threw it or he split out. Mr. Hodge took himself off and put on the major. So there was Mr. Hodge who took himself off. He is just nearer to Southcott. There was one more player, Major Hawker, who had now and then somewhat lived down the quart and half. So he was a drunkard. So he used quart and half means he used to drink half or quarter or some part of that drink and come back. So he was under the influence of that liquor. So he was playing under the influence of that liquor. Who? Major Hawker, remember. The batsmen crouched down upon their bats and defended stubbornly. So the first two batsmen crouched means they struggled hard. So they defended. So they did not want out easily. Or easily out ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. So they were crouched means ತಲೆ ಬಾಗಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಕಡೆ ಬಾಗಿ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಆಟವನ್ನು ಆಡಿದ್ರು. A sneak through the slips brought a single. So they took a single. A ball which eluded the publisher's gigantic pads brought a bye. So these players got leg byes. Gigantic pads means gigantic pads which were tied on their legs. Gigantic means big pads. They brought bye. A desperate sweep at a straight half volley sent the ball off the edge of the bat over third man's head, and in normal circumstances would have certainly scored one. So there was one player who hit the ball on third man's head. Normally in such situations he can get one run, possibly two, one or two possibly. But Mr. Harcourt was on to guard at the third man. Who was the fielder there at third man? Mr. Harcourt guard at third man, and the batsman by nature cautious. See, these batsmen were very cautious. They were very cautious. They were very serious, and they were looking here and there. They were watching the whole situation and playing skillfully. Okay. Cautious men, one being old. One was old. One batsman was old and other the sexton. Sexton means here, one information is given at the glossary. Please note down. You may be asked in the one word example. Sexton means person who does the works of the church. So sexton means in village or town who does the works in the church. What are the works? Like ringing the bell, cleaning, digging graves in the churchyard. So sexton used to work ringing the church bell, cleaning the church and digging graves. So these were the works done by sexton. So if you are asked what were the works done by sexton, then you must answer ringing the bell, cleaning and digging graves. Okay, are you ready? The other postman, as you know, postman. One was playing sexton, another was postman. Therefore a government official, postman was a government official, were taking no risk. So he was government officer, he does not take any kind of risk, just he was defending himself. ಜೋರಾಗಿ risk ತಗೊಂಡು ಶಾಟ್ ಹೊಡಿತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ just cut ಮಾಡಿ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. Were taking no risk. Here we can see what we can say sarcastic, or we can see ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನನ್ನ ಬಳಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ವಿಡಂಬನೆ, ವಿಮರ್ಶನ್. ಹಿಯರ್ ವಿ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫೀಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಹೂ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ಸ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಮನ್ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸರ್ವೆಂಟ್, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಂದ್ರೆ ತನ್ನ ಕೆಲಸ ತಾನು ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಇರೋದು, ಯಾವುದೇ ರಿಸ್ಕ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಾರದೆ ಜೀವನವನ್ನು ಕಳೆಯೋದು. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ವರ್ತನೆಯನ್ನು ಈ ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಮನ್? ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಮನ್ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಗವರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫೀಷಿಯಲ್ ಹೂ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ ರಿಸ್ಕ್. In the same way, he does not take any kind of risk, even cricket. Then came another single of miss hit. So they took one more single, and then interminable period in which no wicket fell and no run was scored. So they played defendingly. So there was no wicket, no runs. It was broken at last disastrously. So it was broken. That first pair was broken. ಒಂದು ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೇಗೆ? For the postman struck the ball sharply. Postman struck the ball sharply at Mr. Pollock. So he hit the ball. Postman hit the ball at Mr. Pollock. Mr. Pollock picked it up. Mr. Pollock caught that ball, which was hit by postman. Postman ಹೊಡೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆ ಶಾಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯಾರು ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಹಿಡಿತಾರೆ? ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಪೋಲಾಕ್ ಹಿಡಿತಾರೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಪೋಸ್ಟ್ಮನ್ ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಹೋಯಿತು. And in an ecstasy or in a joyful zeal, flung it madly at the wicket. So he expressed, Mr. Pollock expressed his own joy. 2 overthrows resulted. So he threw 2 overthrows. The scores were level. Now the time has come that 2 teams' score was level. There were 2 wickets to fall. So 2 wickets to fall. 2 ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಗಿವೆ ಸ್ಕೋರ್. Silence fell. There was complete silence around the stadium or around the playground. The gaffers, victims simultaneously of excitement and senility, could hardly raise their pinned pots. So all the gaffers, all the people, gaffers means old people, experienced people, they also got excitement, who will win, like that. Senility could hardly raise their pinned pots, for it was past 6 o'clock. The time was 6 o'clock. And the front door of the 3 horseshoes was now as wide open officially. See, there was one resort or one inn. What is its name? The 3 horseshoes. Please underline. So it was just like resort, just like bar, just like restaurant, just like inn. So its door was officially open. Officially as the back door had been unofficially all afternoon. So first main door was officially open now, and back door was unofficially, it was opened all the time. It means that all these players were going there after the cricket match. All players alli hogoridru. The major, his red face redder than ever. So Major Hawker's face was redder, means he drank and he was playing under the influence of liquor. And his chin sticking out almost as far as Napoleonic. So his chin was just like Napoleonic. Mr. Ojilwe's bowled a fast half volley on the leg stump. So Mr. Ojilwe bowled fast half volley on the leg stump. So Mr. Ojilwe bowled very good. The sexton, a man of iron muscle from much digging. So sexton was an iron muscled man. Hit it fair square with the middle of the bat. So he hit it fairly. It flashed like thunderbolt. So it was a great shocking. It went like anything. Waist high. So it was just above the waist high. Ishte hatrakke hogta ittu. Straight at the youth in the blue jumper. So it was caught by the keeper. Blue jumper means here keeper. So it was caught by the keeper. How? With a shrill scream, the youth sprang backwards out of its way. So that youth jumped like anything that he got wicket. Fell over on his back. So he fell means he expressed his own joy by falling on the back. ತಾನು ಬಿದ್ದು ಹೊರಳಾಡಿದವನು, ತನ್ನ ಜಯವನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಬಿದ್ದು ಹೊರಳಾಡಿದ. Immediately behind him, so close were fieldsmen clustered. Immediately all the fielders gathered around him. On suttlu ella fielders clustered means gathered, ellaru ಸೇರಿಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. Stood and mighty bone. So there was one more fielder who was very strong and his name was Bone. There was no chance of escape for him. So he did not leave any kind of chance. Even if he had possessed the figure and the agility to perform back that somersaults, he would have lacked the time. So Mr. Bone caught the wicket or as a catch. He had been unsighted by the youth in the jumper. The thunderbolt struck him in the midriff like a red hot cannon. So how does that ball hit the wicket keeper? Please underline, a midriff like red hot cannon ball upon Spanish galleon. Galleon means large ship. ದೊಡ್ಡದ ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾನಿಷ್ ಶಿಪ್ ಲಿಂದ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಗನ್ ಸ್ಫೋಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ, ಆ ಟೈಪ್ ಆ ಬಾಲ್ ಬಂದು ಆ ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೀಪರ್ ಹೊಡಿತದೆ. ವಿತ್ ದ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಡ್ರಮ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಅ ಡ್ರಮ್ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಸೌಂಡ್, ಢಮ್ ಸೌಂಡ್. ಅಪಾನ್ an insufficiently stretched drum. So it was just like a drum sound. With a fearful oath, Boone clapped his hands to outraged stomach. So Boone clapped his hands, but outraged his stomach means the ball hit his stomach. And found that the ball was in the way. So found that the ball was in the way. He looked at it for a moment in astonishment. So when the ball hit him, he looked at the ball and caught it. Then threw it down. So he threw it down after catching that ball. He showed his anger and started to massage the injured spot. Which was the injured spot here? His stomach. So he tried to massage it. He tries to rub that his stomach. While the field rang with applause at the brilliance of the catch. So all the fielders congratulated Mr. Boone for his extraordinary catch. Donald walked up. So Donald, a fielder, walked up to Mr. Boone, wicket keeper, and shyly added his congratulations. So he shyly said, "Congratulations, Boone." Boone scowled at him. Boone looked at him angrily. Scowled means angrily he looked. "I didn't want to catch the darned thing," he said sorely, massaging away like mad. So he was massaging his injured spot stomach. He said, "I don't want to catch it, but I caught it," he said. "But it may save the side," ventured Donald. So Donald said that it may save the side. You saved us. Ninaman kaapade anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ Donald. "Blast the side," said Boone. So okay, do some more like that. Donald went back to his place. Donald went back to his fielding place. Next, the scores were level. See, all teams were level. 2 teams were level. There was 1 wicket to fall. Only 1 wicket. If 1 run these batsmen make, they will win. Or they out, nothing will happen. They will be tied. ಇಬ್ರು 2 ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಟೈ ಆಗಿವೆ, ಸಮ ಆಗಿವೆ. ಇವ್ರು ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ಮನ್ 1 ರನ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ತೆಗೆದ್ರೆ ಇವ್ರು ಗೆಲ್ತಾರೆ, 1 ವಿಕೆಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಸೋತ್ ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. The last man in was the blacksmith. So the last man was blacksmith, leaning heavily upon the shoulder of the baker. See, last man was coming to the field with the help of baker. Baker was runner for ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಕಾಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಗಾಯ ಆಗಿತ್ತು, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಓಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಈ ಬೇಕರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕರಿ ಅಂಗಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರಸ್ಥ ಓಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ರನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಮ್. ಸೊ ಬೇಕರ್ ವಾಸ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಿಂಪಿಂಗ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಪೇನ್. ಸೊ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಲಿಂಪಿಂಗ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ blacksmith was feeling very pain. He took guard and looked around. So he looked here and there. Savagely, he was clearly still in his great rage. So blacksmith was in an angry mood. The first ball he received, he flashed at wildly and hit straight up into the air to an enormous height. So the first ball was bowled and this blacksmith hit the ball. So it went up in the air. First ball ಹಾಕಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಆ ಬಾಲನ್ನು ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೊಡೆದ. ಅದು ಕೆಳಗೇನೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಂಗೆ ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ಇಟ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಅಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಅಂಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಫೋಕಸ್. ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಾರದಷ್ಟು ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು, ಅಷ್ಟು ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೊಡೆದಿದ್ದ. On it properly against the deep cloudless blue of the sky. How was the sky? There were no clouds in the sky. That's why the ball, they could not focus, they could not see easily the ball. And it carried with it the hopes and fears of English village. So it carried, there were hopes and fears of English people. So ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ವಿಕೆಟ್ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದ್ ರನ್ ಇವರು ಅಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ತೆಗೆದು ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಸ್ಕಾಟ್ ಟೀಮ್ನವ್ರು ಗೆದ್ದು ಬಿಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಇಟ್ ವೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ವೆಂಟ್ ಅಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಪ್, ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋಯ್ತು. ದೆನ್ ಎಟ್ ದ ಟಾಪ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೀಮ್ಡ್ ಟು ಹ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಮೋಷನ್ಲೆಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಏರ್. ಸೊ ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೀಮ್ಸ್ ಮೋಷನ್ಲೆಸ್, ಸ್ಟಾಗ್ನೆಂಟ್. ಮೇಲ್ ಹೋದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಿಂತೇ ಬಿಡ್ತೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂಗ ನಿಂತು ಬಿಡ್ತು, ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತ ಹಾಗೆ. ಲೈಕ್ ಹಾಕ್ ಪಕ್ಷಿ ನಿಂತು ಬಿಡ್ತೇನೋ. Fighting as it were a heroic but forlorn battle against the chief invention of Sir Isaac Newton. Forlorn means unlikely to succeed. ಇವ್ರನ್ನ ಗೆಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತು ಬಿಡ್ತು ಅನ್ನೋಂಗ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಿಂತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ಐಸಾಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಅವ್ರು ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡಿದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟಿ ಫೋರ್ಸ್, ಯಾವುದು ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರಾವಿಟಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಮಾಡುವಂತೆ ನಿಂತು ಬಿಡ್ತು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಫ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೋಸ್ ಅಪ್ ಇಟ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಡೌನ್, ಇಟ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾಲ್ ಡೌನ್. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಐಸಾಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಬಾಲ್ ಟೋಟಲಿ ರೆಫ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ದ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಐಸಾಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಆಸ್ ಇಫ್ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಸೀಮ್ಸ್. ಆ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಕಾಣ್ತಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಐಸಾಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಅವರ ಈ ಒಂದು ನಿಯಮನೇ ಸುಳ್ಳಾಯ್ತೇನೋ ಅನ್ನಂಗ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿತ್ತು. And then it began its slow descent. Then it began to fall slowly it came down. See how three players were running. In the meanwhile things were happening below. So in the meanwhile means same time some things were happening very humorously. ಬಹಳ ಹಾಸ್ಯ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಘಟನೆಗಳು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದ್ವು. On the terrestrial sphere means on the earth. Terrestrial means earth. Indeed the situation was rapidly becoming what the French call ಮೊಮೆಂಟೋ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಡ್ರಾಮೆಟಿಕ್ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್. ನಾಟಕೀಯ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಘಟನೆಗಳು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಇನ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಫಾರ್ಗಾಟ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೇನ್ಡ್ ankle. ಸೊ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಹೂ ಹಿಟ್ ದ ಬಾಲ್, he forgot that there was his leg was wounded, there was wound in the leg, so he forgot. So he also start running. Blacksmith start running. Actually the baker has to run ಫಾರ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್. ಬೇಕರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಆಡಬೇಕು, ಇವನು ಓಡಬೇಕು ಬೇಕರ್. ಆದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸೈಟೆಡ್ಲಿ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ರನ್, ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಓಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಟ್ ಔಟ್ ಅಟ್ ಎ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಎಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಹಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ರೀಚ್. roaring in a great voice he went. So blacksmith, how does he was roaring, hey Joe, come back, come very fast. Come Joe. Who the player who was playing at the other end was Joe, Mr. Joe. Great voice as he went, come on Joe. The baker who was running on behalf of the invalid means this blacksmith. So baker was running for blacksmith ಪರವಾಗಿ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಇವನು ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಬೇಕರ್ನು ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. And he also roared, come on Joe. Blacksmith nu ಕೂಗ್ದ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಬೇಕರ್ nu ಕೂಗ್ದ, come on Joe. Side by side like a pair of high stepping hackneys. So ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಎರಡು ಕುದುರೆಗಳು ಓದಿರ್ತವೆ ಅದೇ ತರ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಓದಿರ್ತಿದ್ರು. The pair cantered along. There was a loud sound. From the other end Joe set out on his mission. From the other end, Joe already running. He roared, come on Bill. So he also roared like come on Bill ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Bill ಯಾರ ಹೆಸರು? Blacksmith ಹೆಸರು. So all three came in. See, this was Joe. One person was for Joe and this blacksmith and baker. ಮೂರು ಜನ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. So all three came on and everything would have been all right so far as the running was concerned. So everything would have been right. ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಆದರೆ had it not been for the fact that Joe very naturally ran with his head thrown back and eyes goggling. So Joe was running with the head looking at the ball and he was giggling at the hawk like cricket ball, as if cricket ball was hawking there, stagnant there. ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. And this in itself would not have matured if it had not been for the fact that the blacksmith and the baker were very naturally ran with their heads turned not only upwards but also backwards. ಇಬ್ರು ನೋಡಿ, ಬೇಕರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಸ್ಮಿತ್ ಮುಂದೆ ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆ ಬಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹಿಂದೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. So that they too gauged the ball. All three were gazing the ball, looking at the ball with an alarming sort of squint, a truly terrific kink in their necks. So they were truly watching it. Halfway down the pitch, the three met with a magnificent clang. So they all three dashed together. ಮೂರು ಜನ ಡಿಕ್ಕಿ ಹೊಡೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಜೋರಾಗಿ. Reminiscent of early happy days in the tournament, ring at the Ashby D. Lodge George. ಸೊ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಬಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ರು. ಯಾವ ಘಟನೆ ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ Ashby D. Lodge George ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದೇನು ನೋಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಗ್ಲೋಸರಿ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಓಪನ್ ಗ್ಲೋಸರಿ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಡಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್? ಸೊ Ashby D. Lodge George means a village in Leicestershire, a scene of a medieval tournament described in Scott's famous novel Ivanhoe. ಸ್ಕಾಟ್ ಅವರು ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ Ivanhoe ಎನ್ನುವ ಒಂದು ನಾವೆಲ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂತಹ ಒಂದು ವಿಲೇಜ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ನ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೊಂದು ವಿಚ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಅಂತ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ ಕೊಡಬಹುದು. ಈ ಕ್ರಿಕೆಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಅನ್ನು ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಲಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ Ashby D. Lodge George ಗೆ ಹೋಲಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಲೈನ್. So it was medieval tournament which we can see in Scott's novel called Ivanhoe. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸಣ್ಣ ones ಇದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ you are first language learner. And the hopes of the village fell with the resounding fall of their three champions. So hope of the village was going down. So there was no hope. All three fell down. But what of fielding side? So this was batting side. Then what about fielding side? Fielding side so catch ಹಿಡಿಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. Things were not so well with them. So things were not good with them. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. If there was doubt and confusion among the warriors of Fordenden Dan means it is a place where this cricket match took place. What is the name? Fordenden Dawn. So there was also uncertainty and disorganization among the ranks of invaders. Invaders means fielders. So there was disorganization. There was no unity in that fielding team also. So main trouble was excessive concentration of their force in the neighborhood of the wicket. So main force was they were giving more and more concentration on the wicket. Wicket ತಗೋಬೇಕಂತ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು concentration ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. Napoleon laid it down that it was impossible to have too many men upon a battlefield. He used to do everything in his power to call up every available man for a battle. So please underline, what was Napoleon dictum? What was Napoleon saying in this? Napoleon saying ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬರಬಹುದು ಎರಡು ಅಂಕಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. So what was Napoleon's dictum? What was Napoleon's dictum? Dictum means saying, maxim. Napoleon has a belief, has a what we can say dictum. So what is that dictum? Napoleon ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಿಕೆ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು? So it was impossible to have too many men upon the battlefield. ಯುದ್ಧ ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಜನರನ್ನು ನಾವು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಬಾರದು, ಇದರಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯುದ್ಧ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಗೆಲ್ಲಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. And he used to do everything in his power to call up. So he used to use his power, not all his men. ತನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜನರನ್ನು ಬಳಸುವುದಲ್ಲ, ತನ್ನ ಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಬಳಸುವುದಾಗಿದೆ. Call up every available man for the battle. So we should not take the use of every available manner. So we have to take some power and some people to win that match. So please underline. Mr. Hodge, after a swift glance at the ascending ball, swift glance at the disposition of his troops. Troops means fielders. So Mr. Hodge saw all the fielders and he also thought the same thing. Disagreed profoundly with the emperor's dictum. Who was the emperor here? Napoleon's dictum. He had too many men. So he had too many men to catch. ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಓಡೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಹಿಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. For too many. And all except the youth in the blue silk jumper. So except one youth who was skipper. Except him, all went there to catch. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅವನನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು 10 ಜನನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರು. And the mighty boon cricket ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಅವನನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಉಳಿದವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರು. Were moving towards strategical positions underneath the ball. So ball ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬಹುದು, ಏನು ಬರಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. And not one of them appeared to be aware that any one of other existed. So ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬರು ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. Boone had not moved because he was more or less in the right place. Boone was not moved. He was near the wicket. Boone ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳಗಾಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. Then Boone was not likely to bring off the catch. So Boone was not in the position to catch it. Especially after the episode of the last ball, Major Hawker shouting mine. Major Hawker was shouting mine. Please underline. All double-entered comma sentences can be asked for RC extracts. So mine he said, naan hidithin catch, I will catch. Leave the catch. In a magnificently self-confident voice. So Major Hawker was self-confident. Was coming up from bowler's end like a battler cruiser. So he was coming from bowler's end. Bowler end ಲಿಂದ ಬಾಲ್ ಹಾಕುವ ಸ್ಥಳದಿಂದ ಓಡಿ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. Mr. Harcourt had obviously lost sight of the ball altogether. So Mr. Harcourt also lost the sight, means he did not see the ball. He was also coming there. If indeed he had ever seen it, for he was running round and round Boone. So he was running round and round Boone ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತಲು ಓಡಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. And giggling foolishly. So he was looking at Boone foolishly. Boone ಅನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ. Livingstone and Southcott, the two cracks means champions, were approaching competently. So Livingstone and Southcott, they were approaching means going there confidently. So they want to catch. Either of them would catch it easily. So either of them means either Livingstone or Southcott can catch easily. Ibru Livingstone ಮತ್ತು Southcott easy catch ಹಿಡಿಬಹುದಾಗಿತ್ತು. Mr. Hodge had not only choose between them. Mr. Hodge had not only to choose between them. Mr. Hodge ಇಬ್ಬರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು. Coming to a swift decision, he came to quick decision. ಒಂದು quick decision ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. He yelled above the din, yours Livingstone. Livingstone, go and catch, he said. Southcott, disciplined cricketer, stopped dead. Southcott was a disciplined cricketer. So he stopped at once. ಒಮ್ಮಿದೊಮ್ಮೆ Southcott ನಿಂತು ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಟೋನ್ ಹೇಳಾಯ್ತು ನೀನು ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಹಿಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. Then Hodge made a fatal mistake. So Hodge thought that he was going to make a big mistake. ನಾವು big mistake ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ. He remembered Livingstone's two missed catches. ಅವನು ನೆನಪು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ, ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಟೋನ್ 2 ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದ ನೆನಪು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರು? ಹಾಜ್. He reversed his decision. Reversed means he again told Southcott to go and catch. Roared, yours Bobby Southcott. ನೀನು ಹೋಗಿಡಿ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್, ನೀನು ಹೋಗಿಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. Mr. Southcott obediently started again. Obedient ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ. While Livingstone, who had not heard the second order, So Livingstone did not hear the second order. Livingstone ಎರಡನೇ ಸಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಆರ್ಡರ್ನ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ. Went straight on. Both went straight. Captain Hodge had restored the status quo. So Captain Hodge was shouting loudly, but Livingstone did not hear it. Let's go to paragraph number 14. In the meantime, Professor of Ballistics had made lightning calculation of angles, velocities, densities of air, barometer readings and temperatures. See, in the meantime, same time, Professor of Ballistics. So Professor of Ballistics means where ball does fall or where does ball fall. So they want to know the place. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಸ್ಟಿರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಆಂಗಲ್ಸ್ ವೆಲೋಸಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಅರೈವ್ಡ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ that critical point, the spot where which ought to be marked in the photographs with an axe. ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬಾಲ್ ಬೀಳುತ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. And was 1 yard to northeast Boone. So it was just 1 yard to Boone. ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸ್ಥಳದ ಮುಂದೆ ಬೋನ್ ಸ್ಥಳದಿಂದ. He proceeded to take up the station there. So Professor of Ballistics proceeded means he went to the place. Colliding on the way with Donald and knocking him over. So he went with Donald. This professor may be one of the fielder. A moment later, Bobby Southcott came racing up and tripped over recumbent Donald. So Southcott and Donald both dashed there and was shot head first into Abraham like bosom of bone. So they both hit together. Ibru ಪರಸ್ಪರ ಡಿಕ್ಕಿ ಹೊಡಿತಾರೆ. Bone stepped backward under the impact. So Bone was stepped backward. ಇಬ್ರು ಡಿಕ್ಕಿ ಹೊಡೆದ ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೋನ್ ಒಂದು ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. With his spiked boot upon Professor's toe. So he was just one step back with Professor's toe. Professor ಕಾಲನ್ನ ತುಳಿತಾನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೇನು ಅಷ್ಟು ಜೋರಾಗಿ. Almost simultaneously the portly wicket keeper. So he was portly means wicket keeper, whose movements were positive triumph of the spirit over the body. So he was very confident. Mr. Boone was very confident. Bumped the professor from the behind. So he bumped means he pushed the professor behind. ಹಿಂದಿಂದ ತಳ್ತಾನೆ. The learned man was thus neatly sandwiched between Tudelium and Tudeli. Tudeli means, so he was just sandwiched means ಇಬ್ಬರ ನಡುವೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಯಾರು? Professor. Sandwich was instantly converted into rag out by Livingstone. ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾರು Livingstone ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಡುವೆ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನನ್ನು ತುಳಿತಾರೆ. Rag out, what is the meaning of rag out? Please check in the glossary. Again and again you have to check. Rag out means mixture of vegetable and meat cooked stuff. Rag out ಅಂದ್ರೆ it's a mixture of food. What kind of food? Mixture of vegetable and meat. ಮಾಂಸ ಮತ್ತು ತರಕಾರಿ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ he was ragged out. ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನ್ನ ತಳ್ಳಿದ್ರು. Who made up for his lack of extra weight, for he was always in perfect training by his extra momentum. So he was tortured, troubled there. And all the time Mr. Shakespeare Pollock hovered alertly upon the outskirts like a rugby scrum. All the time Mr. Pollock, Shakespeare Pollock was very alert. Rugby scrub, half screaming American University cries in a fiercely high tenor voice. So see what is rugby scrub here. Scrub means abbreviation of scrimmage, a part of rugby football when the forwards of both sides form a tight mass with the ball in the middle. So it's using of rugby scruffle. ಆಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುವಂತ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀಮಿಂಗ್ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಚೀತ. At last the ball came down. To Mr. Hodge it seemed a long time before the invention of Sir Isaac Newton finally triumphed. ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಹಾಜ್ನಿಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತು ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಐಸಾಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ ಅವರ ನಿಯಮ ಅವ್ರೇನು ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡ್ತಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಆ ನಿಯಮ ಸತ್ಯವಾಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬಾಲ್ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಬಂತು. And it was striking testimony to the mathematical and ballistical skill of the professor. So it was the proof. Testimony means proof that mathematical and ballistical skill of the professor, that ball had landed with a sharp report upon the top of his head. Or professor tele meline a ball with exact time. Then it lift up into the air a foot or so. ಒಂದು ಕ್ಷಣ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಒಂದು ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಬಿದ್ದು ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬರ ಅದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಕ್ಯಾನಾನ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಟು ಬೋನ್ಸ್ ಹೆಡ್, ಬೋನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ ಅವನ ತಲೆಗೆ ಹೊಡಿತು. ದೆನ್ ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಲೋಲಿ ಡೌನ್ ದ ಕೊಲಸಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೀಪರ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್, ವಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೀಪರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಹಿಂಗ್ ಬಂತು. Bouncing slightly as it reached the massive lower portions. So it was bouncing, just coming down from wicket keeper's back. It was only foot from ground when Mr. Shakespeare Pollock sprang into the vortex with the last ear splitting hole of victory. So Mr. Pollock jumped and caught that ball. Jump ಮಾಡಿ on back in the ಬೀಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬಾಲ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹಿಡಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಪೋಲಾಕ್. Hall of Victory grabbed it off the seat of wicket. So ಅಷ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ, so he thought that both win. Keeping keeper's trousers, the match was tie. So the match was tie because Shakespeare, who caught the last catch, please underline Shakespeare Pollock. Mr. Hodge, the youth in the blue jumper, Mr. Pollock himself. For two batsmen and the runner, undaunted to the last. So two batsmen and the runner they were still undauntedly running, had picked themselves up and were bent on completing the single. So they want to complete the single. That was to give Fordendale the crown of victory. So if they complete before the catch, so it can be given one run. But they were moving. Unfortunately dazzled with their falls. So unfortunately again they fell down. With excitement, with the noise, they all three ran for the same wicket. ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಓಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ರ ಅವರು ಮೂರು ಜನ simultaneously realized their error. So simultaneously they realized and they ran up in the opposite direction. ಒಂದೇ ಕಡೆ ಓಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿ ಅಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ರ, ಇಬ್ರು ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಒಬ್ರು ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ. All three turned and ran for the other. Blacksmith, Ankle and all. So blacksmith and baker were running on one side and Joe was running other side. The center leading by hand so that they looked like pictures of Russian tricot. So Russian tricot ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಷ್ಯನ್ ಮೂರು ಕುದುರೆಗಳಿಂದ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಒಂದು ರಥ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಆ ರಥದಂತೆ ಕಾಣ್ತದೆ. So it is given in the glossary. Troika means a Russian vehicle drawn by 3 horses. So troika means it's a Russian vehicle drawn by 3 horses. ಮೂರು ಕುದುರೆಗಳು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ರಥ, ರಷ್ಯನ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್, ವಾಹನ. ಆ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಒಂದು ರಥವನ್ನ ಮೂರು ಕುದುರೆಗಳು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗುವಂತ. Who were the 3 horses here? Baker, blacksmith, Joe. But their effort was in vain. So their effort was in vain. ಅವರು ಒಂದು ರನ್ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. For Mr. Pollock had grabbed the ball. Mr. Pollock caught the catch. Mr. Pollock catch ಹಿಡಿದಿದ್ರು. And the match was tie. ಯಾಕೆ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು? ಮೊದಲೇ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರು. ಒಂದು ರನ್ ಇವರು ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ರು, ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇವ್ರ ಟೀಮ್ ವಿನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಸ್ಕಾಟ್ಲೆಂಡ್ ಟೀಮ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ಆ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಹಿಡಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ರು, ಈಗ ಏನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಟೀಮ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರಿಂದ ನೋ ಬಡಿ ವಿನ್ಸ್ ನಾವ್, ಯಾರು ವಿನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ದ ಈಕ್ವಲ್, ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಟೈಡ್. And both teams spent the evening in the 3 horseshoes. So both the England team and Scotland team celebrated their win, celebrated their tie. Where they celebrated, please underline the 3 horseshoes. It's a name of restaurant. Mr. Harcourt made a speech in Italian about glories of England. Mr. Harcourt spoke about glories of England. England the ಮಹಾನತೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ. And afterwards he fell asleep in a corner. ಅದರ ನಂತರ ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲ್ಕೊಂಡ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ bombarding, just bombarding and sleeping in the corner. Donald got home to Royal Avenue at 1 o'clock in the morning. So Donald Royal Avenue, Royal Palace ಹೋದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಗಂಟೆಗೆ? 1 ಗಂಟೆಗೆ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Feeling that he had not learned very much about English. So he felt that he did not learn much from English, from his experience of their national game. So he thought that he did not learn much cricket. So it means in this way the play ends. So have you enjoyed, dear children? Nothing is there in the story. Both England team and Scotland team played in a village called Fordham then. So they did not follow any rule, and they made the rule. They made the rule then and there. And when the situation comes, both teams were tied. Blacksmith hit the shot and it went up and up, so it did not fall fast. So fielders were about to catch. So there was a disintegration. So all the fielders were after the ball, and they were confusing. At last, Mr. Pollock, Shakespeare Pollock, caught that catch. And in the meanwhile, in the same time, these runners, Baker and Blacksmith, were running, and they did not complete. At last, Mr. Shakespeare Pollock caught the catch, and what was the result? The result was tie between two match. ಸೊ ಟೈ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಟೂ ಟೀಮ್, ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸಮ ಆಗಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಯಾರನ್ನೂ ಗೆಲ್ಲಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಕೊನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಟೀಮ್ಗಳು 3 horses shoes ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಹೋಟೆಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, ಹ್ಯೂಮರಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, a village cricket match written by A.G. MacDonald. So you cannot understand at one sitting, dear children, one sitting or two sitting. Just calmly, in a silent way, read once, twice, thrice, and try to understand it. After understanding only, you can easily answer to the questions. So this is the way how you can understand. So please watch our videos once, twice, and try to answer all the questions very easily. I tried my best to explain it as much as as much as I can do. So I did my best, right, dear children? So still, viewers, if you have not subscribed our channel, please subscribe our channel and get connected with the joyful world of learning. ಸೊ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ತಾವು ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಚಾನಲ್ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿರದೇ ಇದ್ರೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಚಾನಲ್ಗೆ ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೊಸ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದಾಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಈ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಷನ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಮುಂದಿನ ಒಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇವುಗಳ ಮೇಲಿನ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್, 2 ಅಂಕದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, 4 ಅಂಕದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, 3 ಅಂಕದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಪೇಪರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಹತ್ವ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಓದಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮುಂದಿನ ಒಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಅವರ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ಗುಡ್, ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ share our videos to your friends and students so that they can easily get benefited by these videos. So dear viewers, thank you for being with us and please take care. Let's meet in the next video.